When I was looking at pubs to buy, I always felt this pub was particularly comfortable in its own skin. Whenever you came in at mid-afternoon, there were always people at the bar having a drink. There was always a bit of a good, positive energy about it.
Cheers, bye.
Oh, thank you, Sharon. Feel free to just wet my whistle. Drink as you go.
We are rolling. Oh. Yeah.
Cheers.
I always say, so historically, pubs were the social media of the day. Everyone came to the pub to find out what the gossip was, whether there was any work going, who had moved in, who was moving out. So it formed, a social hub, but also an economic hub as well. So that's what it's done in the past, and that's what we continue to try and achieve with it, really. It wasn't always a pub, but the building's been here probably since the 12th century. Originally it was a Devon longhouse, probably a farmhouse, single story, and then come sort of the 1500s, 1600s, they would have put the first floor in. And to do that, they raised the wall heads with cob. So the walls themselves are made out of granite rocks. There are elements of the pub that indicate that the person might have had a bit of wealth or some importance, such as the medieval archway, and then probably became a pub in the Victorian age.
It's lovely and old, it's thatched roof, it's got lovely medieval timber work, and hasn't been ruined, by modern interventions, as it were, by somebody coming in and saying we need to knock it all down and we need to make everything straight and square it all up and make it, look modern. I think it's really a very, very important adjunct to just life in the countryside, where you can be very isolated. Where I live, I don't actually live in the village, so I could see nobody from one week's end to another. So that's a really important aspect of any pub, really, I suppose, even in the city. But in the countryside, I think it's even more important.
I've lived here all my life. Well, I probably was conceived here. I was born in 1950. My father had the pub in 52, and he was landlord here until he died in 1970.
It's all about people, really is. If you've got the right mixture of people, which we have, it just works beautifully. Sheila and I seldom came up here, but once Sheila had died, and clearly company is necessary, I started to come up, and I haven't regretted it. I don't come up every night, and I get laughed at because I always have a half, but it's great. We've got people here who are prepared to put themselves out. They don't say, well, what can the village do for me? They say, what can I do for the village? A bit like Kennedy.
Ray is a fantastic character, and he came to me about probably last year. He said, Mark, I'm likely to have a load of apples next year, would you be interested? I said, of course, yeah. So he's literally supplied us for the whole of September and October with his windfall apples, and we put it on the menu as Ray's windfall apple crumble, and I have to say it's #1 seller. But it just goes back to what really used to happen, which is, and Ray comes and he gets a free meal occasionally, or we do something for him and he does something for us. It just combines the community, but it binds it, really, yeah.
Well, it's a vital thing to have in a village as small as this, because there are no other things. We've got a village hall, we've got a church, but that needs somebody to organise an event in there. You can just pop in here any time of the day or night, to some extent, and it's just a wonderful asset to have in the middle of the community.
I think it has a very important role in the community, not just as a venue for serving alcohol, but it's a place for the community to get together, to network, for communicating, for catching up with people, what's going on in the village. It provides a lot of social cohesion. It also gives the village a centerpiece. Most villages have a church and a pub, and whilst many people no longer go to church, it's a sort of figurehead of the village. It represents that pastoral scene, that quintessentially English pastoral scene.
It's very important in that now there isn't a school, there isn't a shop, there isn't a post office, so the pub is very important.
And I think it's particularly when you're new to the village that you gravitate towards it and people make friendships here. And certainly when you're without it, you realise that the village loses its soul. You know, it's like a heartbeat, really. I mean, despite the fact we don't come in every week, we know it's there and we know that people are going to be there, and almost any day of the week you can walk in and find a friend.
That would have been 60s. I think that's
Neil Ransford there.
That's right, I know him.
Is that the hunt?
No. This is when there was horses here. There was more bloody riding around here, and you know.
Did they bring their horses down here? Did they used to tie them up down here?
Oh yeah, to bring them in. Well, I don't know about tie them up. They'd stay on them and have people take the drink out to them. And I don't think they had a bar. As I said to you before, I think people used to drink in here, like, you know.
And did people have their own tanker?
Yeah. Well, the person whose it was would know their own tanker, and then but it wouldn't be left up right after they'd drunk. They'd wash it out and then put it back, like, you know.
Yeah, some of them are engraved, I can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time that's what it brought in with a jug, and then poured into their you know, their mugs, like, you know.
And what sort of time was that? What period of time was that? When?
Well, like I said, we didn't have electricity until 1950.
There's that lovely picture of you, Badger, behind the bar.
Yeah, because that was back in the 70s, wasn't it?
Yep. Well, that was when they moved the bar up next door, like, you know.
Yeah.
They call it the stable bar. That's where, you know, we used to have about 3 or 4 loose stalls, and there were 2 loose boxes each end.
That's right.
One each end, wasn't there? Like,
That's right. Yeah.
My dad worked here through the years as a youngster, and I used to come up with him. And then I can't remember it, but apparently I used to come up here when I was 2, because my nan was the cook here for 25 years plus. So the pub is like my second home.
It's just the centre of the village. Everything's here. You know, you meet everybody, you see everybody. If you've got a message for somebody, if you've got a parcel that hasn't been delivered where it should be, it's just here. It's the centre of everything.
I was sat at my desk in the cottage, looking out the window, trying to do my tax return. And all of a sudden, John Berwick, my next door neighbour, popped his head round the corner, and all he said was, "I think you've got a problem."
About 9 o'clock or 9:30 on the Morning Concerned, I was sat in our office, and about that time I heard loud voices in the courtyard here, which was unusual for kind of 9:30 in the morning. And I could see people in the courtyard, and they were pointing up, and I looked, and from there I could see just a thin stream of smoke coming out.
I was sat right here, where I am now. Next door neighbour ran in the door and said there's smoke coming out the thatch. So we went outside to have a look, and there was a little trickle of smoke coming out the thatch. We were thinking, well, we've got to now wait for a fire engine to turn up because there isn't one in the village, clearly. And the minutes went by, the smoke started to grow.
We all evacuated the building, and then it was just a matter of waiting for the fire crews to turn up. It was probably a frantic sort of 20 minutes, half an hour before they did turn up, and you're kind of like, well, we've got to try and do something.
So I said to Richard, well, we'll get the power washer and we'll plug it into the garden hose tap thing, and we could start spraying water on it. And so we did. And a little trickle of water came out and of course it never even reached the chimney because we're on the ground and the chimney's on top of the roof, and it might be a power washer, but it wasn't going to do it. So so we had to wait for the fire engine.
But there was a sense of Maybe panic, and a sense of panic in me probably, which felt that we had to try something, even though you couldn't see any flames or anything.
Went out just to get a leg stretch and saw a plume of smoke coming up, and I think maybe one of the fire engines might have been there by then, and I thought, oh God, that doesn't look good. And then over the course of the day, it all played out and got progressively more dramatic. Yeah.
Over the next, 2 hours, it turned from that thin stream of smoke into just a blaze.
En route, I was taking calls from flexi duty officers, and just as you come over the brow of the hill, I hung up because I could see smoke issuing from the pub rising up over the hill. I think probably within 5 to 6 minutes the fire had broken through and then was coming out of the roof, but there was no visible flames when we first got there. It was just a lot of...
I think you made an early decision not to send a platform, wasn't it? Because of...
We can't get an aerial ladder platform in there, so it's going to have to be ladders and safety harnesses working from the roof.
The fire brigade turned up, and one of them went up and popped their head into the loft space and saw the entire inside of the thatch was on fire. So he came out, called pumps 10, which is meaning that 10 engines had been called for to come and help.
It was a sort of mixture of horror at this occurring in the first place, sort of thinking about Richard and thinking, my goodness, this is your business, and your business is going up in flames, and all these people are losing their jobs, all in the space of an afternoon.
When I saw the flames, I was looking out my bedroom window because we're literally just across the green. So came out and stood on the green and cried like everybody else. You know, there was people just there, tears pouring down their faces going, it's our pub, what's happened?
It was really emotional, I didn't expect it. Just seeing a fire that is so angry and so out of control. I'd not seen anything like that, and it was really shocking. It was really shocking.
You're standing looking at the thatch, and that was just a red, smouldering mass. And there's no way that was going to be put out.
I think the heat, you don't realise, we could feel the heat standing almost out in the road. It was that powerful a thing. So you realise just how easy it would be for other buildings to catch fire.
My experience was I have a board with all the details of the people who've gone in breathing apparatus. So I was stood there, but it was practically up to my knees in foam. It looked like a winter wonderland, basically. There's foam everywhere. But obviously that's what they do when we try and cover the non-affected roof spaces around to try and prevent sparks.
The next bit of building that's still part of the pub is thatched too. Its immediate neighbour is thatched. And so they had to cover this other one in foam.
I just thought how good it was that the firemen managed to keep the fire in the one building and not, knock the gatehouse and all the stable block,
There were a staggering number of fire engines and firemen all doing an amazing job, and there was foam everywhere, which made it look like a beautiful Christmas card, only it wasn't. But that sense of disbelief as oh my gosh, another bit's just gone, another bit's just gone, and you realise they're all nails in the coffin, really.
News got round quickly on Facebook, and many people who lived here but were still in communication. Oh my goodness, what's happening to the pub? Surely not our pub. Pubs, when they catch fire, it's disaster. Do they ever rebuild and reopen?
You just literally stood there and watched the Ring of Bells, which was my everything at the time, go up in smoke, literally.
I remember we came down here on the Saturday morning, and what a sorry state the pub was in. There was a protective fence up it. The place just looked a mess. It was still smouldering. Everyone a bit shell-shocked, least of all Richard. I think he was especially in a state of shock, really.
It was really weird. Before they put all the railings up, you could come right up to the building. And I remember coming up to this window and looking through, and it was weird. It was like the table was laid like this, so the cutlery was there, the paper napkins, the salt and pepper was there, the clock was still there, but everything was just burnt, and it was just dripping. Everything was as it should be, apart from nothing was as it should be. Yeah.
It was really very strange to look at a kind of skeleton of a building. Especially a historic building. I think, you know, a building that you have a long association with, you know, it has a historic interior. We didn't know, we had no idea, because we couldn't come in, obviously. We had no idea just how bad the interior would be when we actually were able to come in.
You felt as if, well, this part of the heart and soul had gone out of the village, and of course people were so upset. You know, all that history, all that knowledge, you know, the artefacts in it, you know, so you really thought that it would be lost forever. Despite the fact that not everyone comes every week, there are occasions where everyone comes in. If it's a big birthday, or, you know, after the village fair, or at Christmas time or New Year, you know, you'll see so many people here, and where were we going to go? We have nothing else.
The reality is, at a point in time, you get asked, do you want to rebuild it? Or do you want us to get a settlement and walk away? And that's a binary decision that you have to make. And you get one chance to make it, because going back on it is almost impossible, either way. So I could have walked away, probably broken even, moved on, never had to rebuild it, never had to relaunch it, never have to have anything to do with it again. But would it be here now?
The idea is that whenever you walk into a building, you should be able to see its development, the changes that were made. And obviously having a major fire is a major development, if you want to call it that. And so actually putting things back or reinstating things, you don't want to hide the fact that you've reinstated them. They wanted me to organise removing some of the concrete render that had, you know, was sort of 20th century, I imagine, from the walls, so that we could see the fabric of the building. And it was an opportunity. It was like archaeology that you wouldn't normally be able to do, because obviously it's a business and you're not going to be doing that when people are in it.
I was very keen to document this, because it's a major milestone in the life of the village, rebuilding the pub. So with my trusty camera, I came along to Richard and said, would you mind if I take some photographs? And so the first day I turned up, the scaffolding was up, and the builders had started putting the scaffolding interior to have a first floor level to work on the roof. And they were a bit shy at first. They weren't too keen on being photographed. Watch out guys, Mike's here, you better put your hard hats on and your vest on and so forth, and do everything properly. So yes, they all had their day glow vests on, their hard hats, very safety goggles. And I took some great photographs. They were shifting timber beams up for building the roof and so forth. And I said, guys, do you mind if I climb the scaffolding to get some photographs looking down on you? They said, no, go ahead. So, you know, at your own risk, yeah, fine. So I started to climb the scaffolding with my camera. And it was fantastic, because it was like a fantastic cathedral of steel, this steel network of scaffolding. The light was wonderful because it was all shielded by the plastic covering, so you had nice even lighting, photographically that is. And looking down from the top of the scaffolding, looking down this unusual view, looking right into the bowels of the pub, all these workmen scurrying around little ants on an anthill, with their little hard hats, their vests, all doing their little thing. And what was lovely, they were rebuilding the pub in a traditional manner. I mean, I've got one photograph of a guy drilling holes to make wooden plugs to hold the joists together. Okay, there might be a screw inside there, but from the outside, it looks as it would have been done several hundred years ago. I've got a photograph of one of the guys putting horsehair into the cob mixture in a cement mixer, because it was built traditionally.
When they were replastering it, I have horses, and I said, could they put some of my horse's horsehair into the plaster? So they did, and I can point out where that is in the wall. I thought that was a rather nice touch that Hattie's tail is stuck in a wall somewhere.
I think the first marker of where I felt a bit of elation was when the roof went back on and the first floor started being put in, because then you start getting the sense of the building coming back.
Once we'd got the roof on, they put a floor in and thatching started during the summer. A guy called Stuart Arthur, master thatcher, and he was quite happy with me climbing up onto the thatch on a ladder next to him on the thatch, photographing him thatching. And as he said to me one day, I don't know what it is about thatching. Everyone's fascinated by it, but it's just putting a roof on a house. It's no big deal. I said, yeah, but Stuart, you do it all the time to many of us. It's a dying tradition, a dying craft. And it's just so magical how you can make something so beautiful out of such raw materials with your bare hands.
When the fire happened, thousands of gallons of water were sprayed all over this building. So when I came to take the clock case away to clean it up and make it good, it all fell apart into its component pieces. So everything you see there was a bit on the floor. So the moulding of the top came into all its different components. The dental, all the little dentals dropped off. Those columns on either side, pilasters, they fell off the door fell apart. It fortunately hadn't got burnt, it just got soaked. So I was able to glue it all back together again. And it was, fortunately, when I finished it, it was the same shape for the whole. I had, it went back the way it should be.
Everyone had very strong opinions about how it should all be done, and I think poor Richard managed all of the input from everyone very well. It was a slow process, but at least it was all going in the right direction.
Full credit to Richard for all that he did to get it back up and running. Many people wouldn't have bothered, but I think he just felt he had a responsibility to the village, but also to his staff.
In terms of the lead up to reopening, it was just all hands to the pump and things just had to happen.
The whole feeling of it's actually going to really reopen, it's happening, was brilliant. I helped with decorating it with, Christmas decorations because it was nearly Christmas, bringing greenery and things like that. But lots of people did way, way more than that. An awful lot of people. Well, it can't happen without a whole village full of people, can it?
The opening day came and we had the bell ringing in the church. We arranged for the bell ringers to come in and we had a peal of bells about half an hour before the official opening.
Oh, that was lovely, and Richard stood on the steps at the side here and made a speech and obviously thanked people for help and so forth. And
then Simon Franklin, who was the vicar at the time here, he came down, he stood on the steps and he sprinkled water and blessed the pub for successful reopening, which was rather wonderful.
The vicar was throwing around some holy water and I said some splashed on me and it started to sizzle, so he said, had I known, he said I'd chucked a bit more of it.
The village, almost the entire village was here, so there was a kind of proper community feeling to, we've got our pub back.
The pub is the centre of the village, that is, and without it, what have you got? You've only got a group of houses that sit together.
We need it. I think the village just simply wouldn't be the same without it.
I think it's a cliche and it sounds funny, but it is the heart of the community. Couldn't do without it.
Very glad it's reopened, because otherwise, I wouldn't have a job. And it's definitely brought community back into the village.
I genuinely drive to work looking forward to getting here and working with the team. I think I'm passionate about it.
A pub is open ground. That's what I like about pubs, I think it's a way of life.
Richard, you know, how brave he was to keep going. You know, I mean, a lot of people would have given up, and he didn't. He stuck with it.
What does the Ring of Bells mean to you, Ray?
It's a lifesaver.
Trying to get something out of my pocket there.
Sheila and I came up to be nosy to find out what on earth had happened, and a very large fireman strode towards us and looked at me and said, "I know where you got that hat." And I looked at him thinking, well, ouch, I got that in Nepal.
The fire brigade, and there were many people here, and they used the village hall as their sort of centre, and they laid down on the floor a big tarpaulins to protect the village floor. They were great, and we brought, you know, biscuits, cakes, whatever we could to help them. Some while afterwards, the fire brigade approached the village and said, you know, we are very grateful for all your help. What can we do for the village? Well, I think our response was, well, it's what we can do for the fire brigade, actually. It's not what you can do for us, because they were so good. They worked hard and long, and yeah.
But the best one of the lot was when I got barred from the pub.
Yeah.
Was I got a foxhound I was walking called Runway, and George Badcock had the cottage just here Thatchways, and you know, the puppies are puppies, like, you know, and he used to get in there, and George used to chuck him a bit of Garibaldi and stuff like that. So the dog knew that where there was food, and then one day I'd been out to Peck Farm and I was coming back, and the dog got, this was near Christmas time, like, you know, and the dog came back before me and got in, and because the door was open, and the Christmas cake was there, and then by the time I got there, the daughter was carrying what was left of the icing across the yard, and the dog had eaten, and then I got barred from the pub because. And I just said to him, I said, I hope the dog doesn't choke on the fucking rubbin', like, you know. I used to have to walk to Morton to get it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.